My name's Erica Dela Cruz. I founded Passion to Paycheck, which is a conference and brand focused on television personalities and personal development. So our real focus is emotional and mental health. So you just had this gorgeous, gorgeous panel. And for those of you tuning in, the topic of today is really bringing ahead the state of media and fashion as we know it. So please welcome Jordana Guimarães, which I'm
Thank you.
pronouncing right.
Yes, perfect.
Amazing. So Jordana has an inaugural conference called Fashinnovation, bringing entrepreneurship, technology, and really environmental topics that I haven't seen done in this way that I did in the summit inside of the fashion industry to the forefront. Serial entrepreneur, and I believe you have a book coming out soon too, right?
Yeah, this summer. Yeah,
Incredible.
it's titled "It Can Be You." It's Dehumanize Homelessness using the voices of the fashion industry.
Yeah, that's gorgeous.
Yeah.
And so my question is, are you really taking sort of those media personalities, if you will, peers and colleagues to shine a light on it could be anybody inside of homelessness?
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah. And it's
got it.
actually really interesting because I've been wanting to publish it for a few years now, and I just recently got a publishing deal. And I'm a big believer in like everything happening for a reason.
Yeah.
And when COVID hit, I think it's like perfect timing because maybe people before who would be like, wait, can it be me? Like, now they actually are in that, a lot of us are in that situation. And so it's something that I think will ring true to more people than it would have before.
Yeah, congratulations. I'd love to stay tuned for when the book launches.
Yeah.
I have a book in the space called Passionistas. It's what launched the conference, but my personal story is that we survived the crash 10 years ago. I don't know if you were here in 2009,
Yeah.
but my mother actually chose voluntary homelessness where
Wow.
she is till today. And so it's really rare to be speaking to someone else in sort of in mainstream media sector where
Yeah.
people are like, oh, front row this and glitz and glam that. And to also have family who actively chooses this lifestyle where it has, in my experience, more to do with a mental state of mind and circumstances than it does maybe this drug addicted lifestyle that we fantasize on television about.
Yeah.
So yeah, and she'll tell you herself, because we're pretty humorous after 10 years of it, that build all the shelters you want, but the freedom inside of the community to sort of just live out there is just a lifestyle choice. So I love that you're examining this, because
Yeah.
people are like, how
And that's,
can you be
yeah.
all civilized, whatever they say, and not want
Yeah.
to help her? And I'm like, it's not even an option to help, if you will.
Yeah, no, completely. And I think it is a state of mind. And funny enough, so it's interesting that you talked about also like mental health and all of that in the beginning when you introduced yourself, because I think there's a lot of play in that right now too. People are really wanting to shine the light on that, including Kenneth Cole actually, who's going to be launching a mental health campaign May 15th on like social media. So it's really like an interesting thing. And there's so many stories that we've gathered from homeless individuals when we put the book together. And it really, I mean, it's all across the board, and
Yeah.
I think that's the number one thing we want people to realize is that it's not as simple as, oh, he's lazy, drug addict, alcoholic, because usually that's what people think. And there's
100%.
so much more. Yeah, for sure.
Very much an us and them feel to everything.
Completely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So moving forward inside of this spring life right now, it's interesting that you say mental health is on the forefront, because I think in these COVID times, everyone is turning to just at least feel better or get a hold of all these emotions. Because,
Yeah.
and I don't know if you feel this way, but you're an entrepreneur. And how long ago did you come from Brazil? Did you start like your childhood here?
Yeah, so I have an unconventional beginning. So I came here when I was 12 to Florida. And school was never really like my thing because I always like to like innovate and come up with my ideas and all of that. So then when I turned 18, I just kind of dove into a lot of different industries. I did everything from real estate agent to payroll at a hospital to bank teller to manager at Kohan Retail. Like, you name the job, I had it. But I was always bored of everything after a certain amount of months, and after kind of, I guess, like getting my gold star by my manager or
Yeah.
whoever was above me.
A stamp of
And so
approval.
yeah, I was like, okay, I'm done, next. And so one thing that I realized with all the different positions, that I really love people. So then I just started looking up careers that involved people and communications, and I found marketing and PR, and I was like, this is it, I'm going to do this. And that's really what kind of like catapulted my career. And giving back has always been a huge part of who I am to this day. And so I would always work for brands like Nina Ricci, Porsche Design, Lanva, and I really without going to school, just reading PR for dummies actually is how I kind of like started getting into it, which is hilarious, but it's
That's
true.
amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I would just like research online and all this type of stuff. And I would always want to give back. And so like every event I would do or any brand I'd work with, I'd be like, what's your social impact cause? And Manu would be like, I don't have one. We're like, we're going to find you one. So then we would do that. And when I say we, it's me, but I guess like different projects, different things. And then like fast forward 5 years ago, I met my husband and we got pregnant with our first baby. And I was like, thank you. I was like, I want to continue to do this PR, marketing, fashion stuff, but I want to give back to my own philanthropic cause, which is when I found the Nylon Project, which encompasses the book that's coming out this summer.
Yeah.
And then 2 years after that, I got pregnant again with my second baby. And then we're like, we should do something that's ours. And my husband comes from an entrepreneurial background. I come from the fashion philanthropic background. So we're like, why don't we create Fashinnovation? And really that's how it was born. And it was really like to connect that whole like social impact, fashion, entrepreneurship,
Yes.
And
Yes.
so, yeah. And that's really like the journey that I've kind of been through to where I am today.
That's beautiful. And if you don't mind a compliment, it's fascinating to hear all of this forward progress coming from the tastemakers. At Passionate Paycheck, we feature a lot of the spotlight of the television world. So all these people you're watching on television, once they're talking about emotional and mental health, it becomes more common than maybe the grassroots or small town level. So I, for one, and our shtick here is mainstream media. Once a cause or message hits those socialites, if you will, there's so much power behind it, which speaks to your book and combining influencers with humanizing homelessness.
Completely.
I have the same take on it. So you and your husband are co-founders of Fashinnovation. And is this for those of you watching, tune in. We will have a link to the replays below where you can recap, I think, some of the speakers from the Fashinnovation Digital Summit. So my question is, when you launched, it was an on-the-ground, in-person summit during New York Fashion Week.
Exactly.
Your first digital summit, and was it prompted because of COVID-19, or did you have to pivot from in-person to digital?
Yeah, so it's been 2 years of 4 summits during Fashion Week, live summits, and we've had about 200 speakers. And our whole, even pre-COVID, our slogan was always fashion is to love. That's always been our slogan, what we stood for. And we say love because when you look at all the trends, it just makes so much sense that love is involved, from sustainability to inclusivity, diversity, etc. And also we always said, the fashion industry is the biggest platform in the world. So why not make the world a better place with whatever is happening in the fashion world? And so with that being said, like when COVID hit, we kind of looked at each other and we're like, uh-oh.
I know. Uh-oh is right.
You know? And so we're like, you know what? We're not going to profit monetarily, and that's fine. And also because money doesn't drive me. I'm more about like creating impact. And so we said, why don't we at least, get our sources together, our community together, and put something together that really evokes our messaging of fashion is to love, because now at more than ever, people need love, right? That's like the number one thing. And so we literally I think we put the whole thing together in like 3.5 weeks, which was nuts. We didn't sleep, woke up in the middle of the night. And this is like in lockdown with 2 babies, me and my husband and a team of crazy. So we're like, let's just do it. And then, and the great thing is that, we did have to pivot, and it wasn't part of the original plan at all. But through doing it, and having 119 countries involved, over 100,000 viewers in the 2 days, like
Incredible.
all of this amazing stuff, we said, you know what, this could become a part of our business model, because
Yeah.
you make a bigger impact. You have the whole world watching. It's something that you couldn't do at a live event. You know what I mean? So
Yeah. So actually that's a great topic. I guess one of the questions as well is what went better than an in-person event? Like what were the benefits to digital, and were there any downsides where you missed the
yeah.
in-person?
Yeah. I mean, we're both Brazilian, my husband and I. And so, like, the in person thing and like the hugging and the kissing is something that, like, obviously we miss a lot because we're just very affectionate people in that way. And also, there's something about a personal connection. So, I think that those things could never, be replaced digitally. But I think the positives is that you do get the whole world together, and it's so
Yeah.
much easier to do that. So, and then also, having Mara Hoffman, Kenneth Cole, Diane von Furstenberg, all the people that we got to
It was
speak.
an
Like,
all-star
the,
lineup.
the
Like no one,
thank you.
there wasn't like, oh, maybe you can miss one. It was a gorgeous set of humans. Yeah.
Thank you. And so, like, getting all of them together at a live event, I think it would have been a lot harder if there wasn't COVID,
For the ease
specifically
of
also.
getting some of these speakers together.
Exactly. Yeah. So it would have
Interesting.
yeah. So those were, I would say, like the highlights for sure.
Wow. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. I never thought about that, but I guess it would be easier if everyone's tuning in from home, to
Yeah.
have something scheduled. So if there's someone in the community who's maybe looking to do an online digital event, how many people, because if you guys go to the replay, it acted the same as a summit would, panel
Yeah.
after panel, there were scheduled times. How many people did it take to kind of make sure that the speakers knew where to log in and when? Is this something you can do with two, or if you're an entrepreneur and maybe holding this kind of thing that goes all
Yeah.
day, even in place of an event that may have already happened, are there any
Yeah.
suggestions or tips in terms of like a team or what you might need?
So it's really funny. Me and my husband, we always look at each other and we're like, we're kind of psychotic, which we are. I think entrepreneurs in general are, right? You have to
I
be a little
love your
crazy.
couple goals already. I need to go get mine's an Australian, but yeah, we get it.
Yeah. And so, like, with that being said, it was me, my husband, maybe like 6 interns, obviously our amazing PR. But as far as like the speakers and the time and all of that, it was really me, my husband, to track that part of it. Me, my husband, and one more person, 3 people.
Oh wow.
But we were literally like honed in and like, we were just,
So
and
maybe this shouldn't be like seventh on the list. If you're gonna do it, have it be the only thing you're doing at
the only thing you're doing.
okay, okay,
Exactly.
okay.
And this is why the 6 interns did like the social media and the PR team, like, which is amazing. They did like all of the press kind of like liaison. So have other people doing that. But if you guys are going to focus on the, 2 full days, 90 speakers, I don't know how many panels, like just hone in on that because yeah. And then you could do it with 2, 3 people. But if you're going to do a million things, then it's, yeah.
Got it. So yeah, beautiful, because there's so much shifting, but not
Yeah.
everyone knows exactly what it takes.
Yeah,
So
totally.
here's a question for you. Just a little pop-up.
Yeah.
Um, here's a question. Inside of fashion and media, I know that I can speak just to my own experience. I need the escape, especially right now. And there's this element of escapism when you're, flipping through a magazine or hearing from those you love in mainstream media, television, print,
Yeah.
editorial. Um, do you think that this sense of escapism is different from luxury? Because there's a lot of chat right now inside of the COVID-19
Yeah.
regulations that the trend of, luxury retail, even influencing or editorial, isn't going to be as accepted. But then you have another side saying, well, we really want escapism and we want this
Yeah.
aspirational content. Do you have an
Yeah.
opinion formed on it?
I think that those things are always going to be in existence. I think maybe it'll be curated with a little bit more like sensitivity, but I think it wouldn't make sense to take those things away. Like, I know for me, I love flipping through like an actual magazine. Like, I love
I'm
just
that
watching.
girl. I still buy
Yeah,
them.
no,
Yes.
I love it. Me too. Books, like I can never do a Kindle. Like I like the feeling of like holding something, you know.
Totally.
And the same thing goes for like retail. I think retail is not at all dead. I just think it's gonna be pivoting with like adaptations for whatever the next normal is gonna be. But I think retail is always gonna be there because it doesn't make sense for it not to be. But it's just
Yeah.
gonna change in the way that it's there. And I think the same way for like luxury. You know, luxury items. I mean, you're always gonna I think you're always so you're gonna have some people that are going to fully change their mindset behind how they shop, what they do because of what happened, because it's been very drastic. But then you're also gonna have people which from day one with COVID to now, there's some influencers that I've been following and it's as though COVID never hit them. And that's fine because that's the way that they are
Right.
like kind of taking all of this in. Everybody, you can't judge people for the way that they're acting towards it. It's whatever makes them feel good. So I think you're always going to have the influencers, you're always going to have the luxury, you're always going to have retail, and you're always going to have all of that. But I just think it's going to be a different way that we're going to see it. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Interesting. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it definitely does. And do you think things like, antibacterial fabrics or materials, have you been hearing much about whether that will be used or marketed like as an asset now moving forward? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're always going to have like the extremists, right? You're always going to have people that are just going to like, I mean, they're going to think that they have to wear like, I don't know, like a spacesuit when they go out. And like, I mean, I think you're going
Yeah.
to have people that are really going to go that like crazy realm. And I also think you're going to have people that are just going to be like, okay, this is the new normal. I can still wear things that I like. I don't have to go get into all of like, it's not, with every situation, if you look at like past things like Zika, dengue, like all of the different illnesses, obviously it's never been like this, but it's killed thousands of people and all of that, and it never really changed much, right? I think
Yeah, that's a
obviously,
good point.
yeah, I mean, I think the pandemic obviously is something that we cannot like compare it to anything else. Um, but at the same time, like Kenneth Cole said in his talk, like fashion has never been normal, like ever. It's always changing.
Yeah.
So this is going to be one more change, which the fashion industry is so used to. So I think the people that are like, oh my gosh, fashion is dying, there's no more fat. Like, I think
Fashion is
yeah.
adapting and shifting. Right. Yeah. No, that makes sense.
And
Have you heard anything on whether or not the shows in New York will take place this
so,
year?
so the shows is the one thing that
I'm
I'm
getting this
finding.
personally from you, so let's
I,
let's hear
The
it.
shows is the one thing that I'm threading lightly in the way that I talk about it, because I know that, there's some like fanatics about the shows. I think they're amazing.
Yeah.
And I keep going back to like Diane and Kenneth when I quote what happened last week, just because they really stuck with me, a lot of things they said. But Diane, she talked about how originally runway shows were done and made for the trade and for, like people that it made sense for them to be there. And then it just became this huge kind of like a who's who, and everybody wanted to go just to get a picture of themselves there and post it on Instagram. And so like it became this thing, which it was never intended to be that. And then it kind of got saturated. So in a sense, I think we're still going to have fashion shows. I think they're going to decrease a lot in size as far as who's invited. I think it's going to go back to what it was originally purposed for. And I just kind of threw this idea out there that I thought of the other day, but I'm like, why don't the only thing that I would love to change about it is that like you have a collection on a runway and then you dispose of it after the show most times, and then it's waste. So I'm
Yeah.
like, so let's say you have, and this is just an idea, right? Let's say you have like Custa Barcelona on the runway. Just for the collection that they showcase on the runway, why not make just that one specific collection for the models sustainable, to where it can be repurposed after the show, or where
Yeah.
the fabrics could be like, made into something else or whatever. Just that one collection. Doesn't have to be the whole company, just for the runway show, because then it makes a lot of
That
sense,
is amazing. And it's getting a bigger, larger message on the largest platform that we have
Exactly.
twice a year. Wow.
Exactly.
That's
Yeah.
beautiful. Do you too think that the earth is benefiting from this? Because I've seen these sky high photos, and at least in Los Angeles, we have never seen the sky so blue because it's usually full of smog.
Yeah, 100%.
I feel like
That's
the universe shoulder taps you and does what you might not bring yourself to do. And they were like,
yeah.
everyone, you're not doing this right. Get in your houses. We got to
Yes,
save Mother
actually
Earth.
100%. So like
Yeah.
Susan Rockefeller, she did an amazing, beautiful speech. I think it was the second day, like morning-ish. But she spoke about that. She said that this is like Mother Earth being like, everybody, you didn't listen, get in. Lock
Get
it
the
on
hell
with
in
you.
your houses and don't come out till we say it's okay. No,
You guys were bad, bad kids.
I believe it. And I'm almost grateful that the earth can breathe, like she can breathe right now. And yeah, for
Exactly. You
better.
know, you have like, it's a horrible, obviously people are dying, losing their jobs, all of that I don't even have words for how horrifying all of that is, but I'm an optimist and I try to find some light, right? Because that's the only way that we can like move forward. We have to have hope. We have to like believe that it's going to be okay, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm always saying that like the environment right now is winning. And that's a really beautiful thing because in retrospect, with the environment, you know, bettering itself and the earth like depolluting a little bit and all of that, everybody who's going to stay in this earth is going to be able to have so many more years, you know, of just like good health because of it, you know. So I always try to kind of find like the
Yeah.
silver lining. Yeah.
No, I call myself an eternal optimist, too. And, you know, I think something that is just so useful and beautiful to know is you mentioned you're an optimist and obviously so entrepreneurial, but then you have this entire media side where you've tried the job thing and you've gotten the pat on the head and, you know, you wanted to pursue more. What do you think it took? Like, was there like a switch, like I can do this? Or did you always believe in yourself? I can do this. I can start a cause or like the nylon project or really
Yeah.
take seriously something that I wanted to start, because a lot of people think about it, but it might not
Yeah.
be within them to do it or to have the self-belief to even try
Yeah.
starting it.
Yeah. So I think it's interesting because personally, as an individual, not the way that I think, but like I've always, so I'm going to be fully transparent. So like physically, I've never been confident in myself. I've dealt with like a lot of things in the past when I was younger, like anorexia and all this jazz.
Yeah.
And that has always been like a struggle for me. But for some reason, me as who I am, as like my soul, I believe thoroughly in myself in that regard. And I think it's funny because it's like the physical doesn't even matter, right? Like, and I'm starting to, after I had kids, I started to realize this more, and actually having kids gave me so much more self-confidence physically, which is a beautiful thing. And I thought it would be the opposite. And like, it was, you know,
Yeah, I was gonna,
but with that,
that's what we
yeah. And
publicize.
yeah, and I'm a very, very, very spiritual person. And so when I say that, I think in order to believe in yourself, you have to follow your intuition. And a lot of people, they say like, you know, how do you know what that is? Like, and it's something that it's, you know what it is. We all have it. And it's that little voice. If you like try to do something, like your head is going to say something, but your intuition is going to say something else. So if in your intuition and your like heart, you're like, oh my gosh, this would be so amazing and exciting to do. And in your head, you're like, wait, stop, but you're not ready to do it. Listen to that. That's going to be so amazing. Because by listening to that feedback,
Yeah.
even though your head is telling you no, regardless of the outcome, it's going to make you feel good. And feeling good, you're doing the right thing. So like, that's how I've
Beautiful.
always thought about everything that I do.
Yeah. Oh, you'd fit right in. The community this morning, we were talking about the machinery and then like the soul, how the soul's like, oh, that's a good idea. But because the machinery is meant to keep you
Yeah.
safe and keep you small, it'll trap, limit, or place a ceiling on what you want to be doing.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I love that. Gorgeous, gorgeous. And were you starting like the nylon project and everything else? Did your husband serve as any inspiration because of his entrepreneurial mentality? Like,
So the Nylon project, it was something, it was more, yeah, for that one, it was more me, with, as in regards to like putting it together. And I think it's because it's funny, like from when I was 2 or 3, I remember it would really bother me to see people homeless on the streets. And growing up in Brazil, it's a lot more segregated, but it's also like you have the very, very, very wealthy and the extremely poor, and like you could see each other, you know, anywhere you are. And it's really like, it just like boggles your mind. But from when I was a little kid, I used to always walk around the streets with my dad and be like, Dad, let's buy them this, Dad, let's buy them that.
Yeah.
And he would always tell me, like, you're never going to have money, because even if you make it, you're going to give it all away. And it was just something that's always been like innate in me. You know, it's just who I am. Like my mom even knows, like, it's so funny to this day, if we'll all go out to dinner and the bill comes and I'm like, I got it. My mom was like, she has money today. Because as soon as I have it,
That is so funny. No,
you know?
absolutely. Yeah, we grew up taking like full-on garbage bags of all the things that we cleaned out to Mexico, and my mom would just walk us through the streets, and we would give and give.
That's amazing.
And give.
And so, yeah. And so really, I think because of that, I always wanted to give back to homelessness in a bigger way. And because I've been in fashion for such a long time, like, I realized it's the biggest platform, and people are following, you know, if Kim Kardashian is eating a salad, they're like, where did she buy that salad? And all these silly things that don't matter. I'm like, why not use their voices for something that really matters? And so it just kind of started clicking, and I was like, this, I'm going to do it, you know? Exactly. And again, intuition based.
Wow. That's so beautiful, because it's rare that someone says, yeah, let's give back and actually build something from it. So that's gorgeous. And is that August 2020 this year?
So it should be by August. Yeah, so I'm also really excited because Susan Rockefeller partnered with me on a book, because when I get the publishing deal, I had to, like, you know, get somebody to back it up as far as like financially, and she learned about the project and she's like, I'm in, let's do it. And so I was super blessed for that. And Jason Naylor, who's a famous street artist, he designed a cover of the book, and he's also in the book sharing his story. Yeah,
he was in the summit, right?
He did the mural in Brooklyn.
Yeah, perfect.
And and the cool thing about the book is that every story are stories that the influencers have never shared in another platform. So it's really like the biggest struggle that they've overcome and how they overcame it. And so it's pretty amazing.
So yes, I'm so excited. I'm literally going to calendar it. My on our book from 2 years ago, it's called Passionistas, Tips, Tales, and Tweetables from Women Pursuing Their Dreams. We're the chicken soup for the entrepreneur soul. So it was a compilation of stories and the power of stuff you can't find on the Instagram feeds of the people you love. So I love it. We're looking forward to it. And then last but not least, where can we join and maybe catch some of these replays from the Fashinnovation Summit?
Yeah, so it's all on demand. It's going to be on there eternally. So you just go to Fash, innovation.nyc, the website, and you'll see worldwide talks. If you just click, you watch the whole thing. And I'm also super excited to announce we already have the second edition coming up. So.
Oh, girl, that's incredible.
So, thank you. So it's going to be June 5th and June 8th. So in a month.
Perfect. And same type panelists?
So, so we're speaking, I can't really say yet, but it's going to be the same caliber of speakers for sure. We're going to have a few more actors even involved, because we're doing it. The 5th is World Environment Day and the 8th is World Oceans Day. And so we're partnering with, I also can't mention yet, but it's going to be a lot of amazing
But those
stuff.
are good things. Those are indicators that you're going to want to tune in, as always, when you can't mention it. So,
for sure.
Yeah, we love it. Well, we can't wait to tune in and share more. And
thank you so much. I love your energy. You're amazing. You have such a your light and your energy.
The juju and space around you is like, woo. I completely get that. So thank you
so much. And we'll have to meet in person eventually.